All right. So we are here in Germany, the fatherland. A little bit of history on German wine. The plantations kind of go back to the ancient Roman era, which tended to be outposts against the Germanic tribes on the other side of the Rhine. The Rhine being, see if I can get the little thing over here. So here's the Rhine right here. And which is why the kind of like the oldest and well-known vineyards are both in Mosel and then Rheinhessen. Now, in the Middle Ages, around the era of Charlemagne, viticulture was brought east, and he's kind of particularly kind of credited with starting in the, just east of the Rhine, over in the Rheingau. Now, a majority of production was held by the church for centuries. But then Napoleon started marching his way through to Russia. And during that time, he pretty much seized control of all the vineyards. And on top of that, divided them all up, gave them to, his friends and, supporters, and also secularized them. So, no more church wine. Since then, the Napoleonic inheritance laws, where when the owner dies, the property is divided up equally among all the children, further broke down a lot of those properties until they, a lot of them started to join together to form cooperatives, which are kind of like your villages and whatnot. Something kind of key to German wine happened around 1775 at a place called Schloss Johannesburg, which is also in Rheingau. And what happened was that a courier, because back then, you had to be given like the okay signal, permission to harvest your grapes. But the courier that was delivering that permission was delayed for a couple of weeks. With the result being that the grapes that were in this Johannesburg Riesling had been affected by noble rot before the harvest began. And unexpectedly, those rotten grapes gave a really good sweet wine, which was termed Spätlese, meaning late harvest. Now, from this time, late harvest wines from grapes affected by the noble rot have been kind of produced intentionally, but the subsequent differentiation of wines based on harvest ripeness started with Auslese in like 1780, it's like 6 or 7, and laid the ground for what I'm going to be talking about next, which is the Prodicot system. And those laws were pretty much, they were kind of sealed into definition around 1971, and still kind of define those designations that are used today. So what is the German wine law? Well, it's broken down into three rules, and you'll see variations on your wine labels. The first one is called Landwein, which just means regional wine that's been that's kind of rarely exported. So you won't really see Landwein anywhere. But again, checking some of those German labels, and actually the Austrian as well. One of the types of grading systems is called Qualitätswein, and is wine of a certain quality. So it's got to have a certain threshold of quality, which is not Landwein, and it's from the 13 major regions, which are all these that are listed here. Now, and so that's the quality. The grading system that a lot of them will use, and it's actually like one of on the name of like the Gewurztraminer, is from the Prodicot, which is a subset of the Qualitätswein. and is categorized by how ripe the grape is at harvest, meaning how much sugar by volume there is in those grapes. And here is those levels of quality. So again, but quality, it doesn't really mean, that these are like the best grapes. It isn't like the Burgundian, like Grand Cru, where it's the terroir and everything else. No, it's just how late were these harvested, how much sugar was in those. And again, so like some of the wines that we see, like our Gewurz is Kabinett, but that doesn't mean that it's, bad quality. It just means that it was harvested pretty much at harvest time. And so therefore it has, a fair amount of sugar in it, but especially if it's, how to put it, if it's got a low alcohol content, or should I say, if it's got a lot of sugar, more than likely Kabinett and Spätlese, because they're on that lower end of the sugar scale, will probably not have as much alcohol in them. So if you do see Kabinett or Spätlese and it's not set as like trocken, which means dry, which is different from the trocken Beerenauslese, which we'll get to in just a bit. But trocken means dry. And if you actually see that on a bottle, it means that this has been fermented completely dry. But most German wines, they'll actually have like a little meter on the back that'll say, somewhere between dry and sweet. And most German wines tend to be in that kind of off dry area. Now, again, so as you keep going up that meter there, Kabinett, Spätlese, Auslese, Beerenauslese, and then Eiswein, which is kind of a category of its own. That's where you have it, where it's just like ice wine in Canada, where it's actually to the point of a frost, and that ice essentially pulling the water out of those grapes, leaving behind sugar. And then there's Trocken Beerenauslese. Trocken Beerenauslese, that's where you start to get that noble rot. That's usually when you see TBA, those are wines that, much like we had talked about with Bordeaux, that botrytis mold is pulling all the moisture out and leaving behind this desiccated, almost raisin of a grape. And actually, I can show you all the different ones. So as you can kind of see there, Kabinett and Spätlese looks like regular grapes. Then you get to your Auslese, and they start to kind of shrivel a little bit as they've been sitting on the vines for maybe another couple of weeks, a little bit further than that. Then you start to get into your Beerenauslese. And so those are even further, kind of shriveled up. And then Trocken Beerenauslese, yeah, it's not only is it kind of brown and shriveled, but it's got that kind of film of this gray mold on top of it. So we're going into, let's talk about the terroir a little bit before we kind of move on. So the climate for German wines is clustered around the southern or southwestern corner of Germany, as you can kind of see there, and which kind of borders both France and Belgium, and you kind of see the Alps that are near the bottom there, but that's more the divider with Austria. But most of these regions are at 49 degrees latitude or higher. And because of this, the climate is fairly cool and continental, with the Mosel and the Rhine rivers providing those moderating influences, or else it'd just be way too cold. Now, for the soil, especially in Mosel, but also in Rheinhessen, it offers, you know, a little bit of flavor, but also it contributes a little bit of heat absorption to keep those vines warm at night, which is that the steep hills of a lot of these vineyards, you know, that's the thing about a lot of these German vineyards, is that they are on these like crazy slopes. And actually, let me flip over to that real quick. So, I mean, that's pretty darn steep. Yeah, that is not some, you know, a place where any kind of machine is going to go. And that's exactly it, is that, you know, because of how steep these things are, you know, someone's got to go through each one of those things with, you know, feet in some clippers, because those automated machines can't get through there. And what the problem is that leads to a lot of German wine being more of a craft than like an actual industry wine. Now, regions of note from here, first being the Rheinhessen, which is this guy right here. That is the largest producer in Germany. It used to be full of Liebfraumilch, which means beloved lady's milk. But it was really just super sweet, and there was no other way that it was. And the problem is that dry wines after the 80s became the new, or yeah, those dry wines became the new norm around the 80s to 90s. And now it's kind of a place where all different types of grapes are starting to get planted there. In terms of the wines that we have, that's where our Gewurztraminer comes from, which, you know, in Germany, they just call it Gewürz, because, well, it's the Traminer grape. Gewürz means spice, so it's just Gewurztraminer or spice Traminer. The second place they'll be talking about is the second largest wine area. You would think there'd be Mosel. No, it's this one down here. I guess I had the different ones circled. So the purple one here is Rheinhessen. This is Pfalz, also known as Palatinate, or is it Palatinate? It's one of those two. And that's where the newly trending German red wines are growing. There's two of them that are kind of making a name for themselves. And just in the last 10 years, German red wine like demand has gone like through the roof. And because of that, you know, they're just planting more and more of these vines. The first being Spot Burgunder, which is essentially German Pinot Noir, and Dornfelder, which is what many of us have have a bottle of today. Now, down in production quite a ways is Mosel. Now, Mosel is the fifth largest region of Germany. And that's because everything is right alongside that river. But because of those steep valleys, like dramatically steep valleys, as you saw from that other picture, and that slate, it's producing some like award-winning Rieslings. And so that's why Mosel is, you know, whenever you see Riesling, there's a really good chance that Mosel is where it's coming from. Now let's talk a little bit about Austria. So grape growing here has existed for a few thousand years. And for being such a small country, it also produces about a little less than 1% of the world's fine wines. But what it does is it's made Austrian wine quality exceptionally high. So they actually have even higher standards than the Germans. But they're also heavily influenced by German winemaking, and they have those same Landwein, Qualitätswein, and Produktionswein classifications. Now, the Alps, as I was talking about before, that's the Alps right here. kind of separate Italy from it. Now, what that does is it creates a rain shadow. So all of this like moisture and wind and everything that kind of comes up through the Mediterranean from Italy kind of gets blocked by the Alps here. It's like, no, you're not coming through. And because of that, it leaves the area much drier, which is what you really kind of want for growing grapes. Now, most Austrian wine comes from this place kind of up north called, saying all these words is always fun. Niederösterreich. I hope that's right. Niederösterreich. Yes, that sounds right. Which is situated up here by the Danube River. And I actually have like a bit of a closer picture of just Niederösterreich. And you can see that there's, again, here's the Danube, which kind of goes through the Wachau. But as you can also see here, here's the Krems, which means, and they break them out by these sub-regions based on those rivers. So you have your Krems and your Kemp. Now, Austrian wine, unlike the subtle variations from Germany, as I was talking before, between, that they go between sweet and dry, and that it can be somewhere in between that, and it's kind of like all over the place. Austrian wine is much more bipolar when it comes to that residual sugar. It's either bone dry or you better go to your dentist because you probably have a cavity. Now, finally, we'll get to like the main and distinct varietals for the region that we want to concentrate on. And definitely want to remember Gewurztraminer and the Dornfelder. But when you think of Germany, you're talking Riesling, and Austria, Gruner Veltliner. Now, Riesling is one of the few whites that's classified as an aromatic, or an aromatic wine grape, which includes also the Gruner Veltliner and Gewurztraminer. So, I mean, you're in for a treat when you're smelling all these. What that means, what it actually means to be an aromatic wine grape, is that it contains high levels of what's called terpenes. And terpenes are what give off a distinctive floral aroma. So make sure that, as you're swirling these things around, that you keep your nose kind of primed for, some type of floral note to it. Now, Riesling is known for both being very acidic, which is great for, as they have some residual sugar, because what happens is that sugar kind of balances out acid. And because of that, with a lot of these off-dry Rieslings, you'll get a very balanced mouthfeel to it. The second thing about Rieslings is that they're highly terroir expressive, which is why a lot of places grow it, especially like up in Washington, in Germany. And what that means is that the character of it is going to be very influenced by the soil that it's planted in. So for slate-rich valleys of like Mosel, we should see some decent minerality. German Rieslings in particular, especially the higher quality ones, the more that they age, will actually have a almost striking petrol note to them. So that is, and a lot of places for the longest time it was called a fault, but no, it's just apparently German Rieslings. Like I said, the higher the quality, so those Trockenbeeren Nausleis and just Beeren Nausleis, those might have, if you've left them around in your cellar for 5-10 years, they might start to really kind of develop that. Now, speaking of Beeren Nausleis, I actually have a bit of that. I'm not sure if you can actually see Beeren Nausleis. This is a 375 bottle, and as you can kind of see from the back, dry, medium, but this way over there. So this is super sweet and also super syrupy. And lastly, for the colder regions for Rieslings, they in particular are going to have more apple notes. And as you start to get into more kind of warmer regions, you'll see more of like a citrus and peach note. So depending on what you start to smell and taste from that Riesling might give you a clue as to where it comes from and how it was kind of grown. Our second wine, or the second varietal, Gruner Veltliner, as much as you might say Veltliner, no, it's leaner. It's offered at many high-end restaurants because it's one of the most food-friendly wines out there. It goes even further by pairing directly with a food that is typically unpairable without some additive, that being asparagus. And that's one of the reasons why I had said that you want to have asparagus, because as you're trying, the Gruner, try with asparagus and just see that it actually makes it, both taste really good. Now, Gruner Veltliner started making a name for itself around the early 2000s because it actually, there was almost kind of like a Judgment of Paris contest, and it beat out a bunch of Grand Cru wines from Burgundy. So all of a sudden it was like, ooh, everyone started wanting to drink it. And much like the Mosel Riesling, it's grown on steeper valleys and it gets a decent amount of minerality. But if you do get one that's grown in more flatter hills and plains, it starts to take on more of a peach and pepper, and sometimes even like green tobacco leaf. So something to keep in mind for tonight as well. On that note, I think I'm actually done with the lecture portion. Does anyone have any questions before we move on to drinking? Nope. All right. So, first wine of the night. Gruber Roschitz. Oh, there we are. And that is our Gruner Veltliner. All right. As usual, we're going to give this thing a look-see before we stick our nose in there. As we point this thing 45 degrees. Somewhere between pale and yellow. As I hold it closer, it starts to get a little bit more yellow, but no, it's right in that realm, right between those two. Let's go ahead and give this thing a bit of a swirl. Let's see what we get for our ABV. Those are pulling down kind of slowly. I don't know when you can actually see them. Somewhat fast. I mean, I'd probably put this more at maybe a 11.5, maybe 12.5. Okay. Let's see.
Richard, I don't know what you guys are drinking. This is what we could find.
Nigl?
Yep.
Nigel. Okay.
Nigel?
Nigel?
I don't know. Niggle.
All right. Oh, and apparently, yeah, this was 12.5. So that's actually fairly high for what I would think. Okay, so let's go give this thing a swirl and a sniff. What are people smelling on this?
Pear, lots of pear.
Pear?
Mhm.
And flower. Flowers.
Yeah, not FLOUR.
Not flowers.
Maybe a little bit of green apple?
Yeah. I'd also say herb, kind of herbaceous.
Okay. Like a sweeter herb, like thyme or tarragon?
Yeah.
Oh, it is?
It is.
There you go. Let's try it.
All right. Well, first taste of the night. Cheers.
Cheers.
First taste of the night. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was way
Yeah.
ahead.
Wow. Is this really good with asparagus?
Ooh.
I was not expecting that.
He told us it wasn't going to be good.
Huh. Okay, so that, I don't know, to me, that does not taste like it smells.
Flavor to it.
It doesn't taste
Said
like
green apple, so it tastes like he thinks it tastes like it smells too.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I think it tastes more lemony,
Yeah, we're getting kind of
more
citrusy.
citrusy.
Okay. I mean,
I got a little bit of honey actually.
like me, I'm getting kiwi and lychee.
Mm.
It's definitely that sharper sugars.
So the one that we had was more along the lines of green apple and peppers.
Oh, so you actually had some pyrazines in it.
Mhm.
Okay. So yours is probably from, I don't know, does it actually say
No,
which part it's from?
that's too far away.
This one is actually from Austria.
Oh, it just says Austria.
Nice
Stay with the honey.
smell of rosemary.
Because I would think that, you know, those
Somewhere.
extra kind of green notes probably means that, you know, it was a bit of a colder region.
It says it's from Wagram, Austria, but we do not know if that's a region or what. So
I'm gonna go with
No,
yeah, that Whole
it
Foods.
doesn't, like, pretty much the only one that I really know of from Austria is Wachau.
I think we need to have Sarah read the
Oh, it's a specific village.
Oh, it's a village.
Okay.
Channel your cabaret here.
I love Vienna.
That is famous for its spicy, fruity Gruner Veltliner. The soil around Roschitz.
Okay, so if it's from Vienna, more than likely it's from the, well, just wine region. W
Oh, look at that.
WIN.
Uh,
Vine or bean, maybe
Wien?
bean. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, it's the
that's true. W's are
because it's not like German where you flip your V's and your W's.
Right. All right.
maybe Google has a pronunciation as well.
Well, because I had to look up Veltliner just because I'd just been going through all the German ones. I was like, is that supposed to be Veltliner or is it Veltliner? But has anyone tried it with some asparagus yet?
No, but
They have
Sarah?
Hold on.
Okay,
It's so
now-
good.
now it's-
I like it a lot. We have asparagus with a hollandaise sauce on it,
Okay.
which is amazing. And
Yeah, Kurt made the
Because
holiday
Kurt-
sauce fresh just a second ago.
Butter.
it's really good.
It's a good thing I got
I
this.
know.
Sorry.
Yeah. Now that's the thing about like German and Austrian. Well, I mean, Austrian wines can kind of go with just about anything, but German wines kind of break that rule of, what grows together goes together. A lot of your German wines, what they go best with is, I mean, and that's why I kind of had, put it as the recommendations is like spicy Thai food, or just, mostly Thai, because, and the reason why is that a lot of Thai food has those kind of tropical and citrus, like kefir leaf and lemongrass in most of their dishes. And
Makes sense. Yeah.
those, are almost like an exact pairing for the kinds of things that are in, say, like a Riesling or a Gewurztraminer. But yeah, I actually have some kaffir lime rice to go with my asparagus. I cannot wait to try it.
Have to order myself one.
So the DC chapter of the German Wine Society, they always have a Christmas dinner with asparagus being one of the main dishes.
Ah,
So now you know what to bring for wine, because it's so hard to pair. It really is. It's like they're not.
Pineapple is the only vegetable they eat in Germany. I lived there for almost 4 years, and there was spargel season, and it was like the only time you could get a vegetable in a restaurant.
Asparagus.
It's white asparagus.
Well, unless you count red cabbage as a vegetable, you can always get that too.
no, it was just spatzel and pork.
Yes. Oh, you would have like a piece of lettuce and a slice of tomato on your plate as well.
No, it's
Salad.
if you're a vegetarian.
I guess that is motivation to have a balcony or patio garden.
Hmm.
When I saw spargel, it looked like a
And it's
junk.
funny you said not what grows together, because I picked out Swiss cheese and like I have like Swiss cheese and Emmentaler. So I don't know. We'll see.
Go for it.
I'll be curious to see how they go.
Yeah, well, I just didn't know. I was kind of like, well, I'm gonna do cheeses that usually,
Yeah, and it's the
from that
problem with like the somewhat sweet, like the off dry wines, is that they're already kind of balanced, so they don't really need a lot of fat to coat your tongue to really offset the acidity.
It's like you're getting ready for Cinco de
I also
Mayo.
thought I wouldn't waste a really great cheese on a wine that doesn't really need something to.
Just go with what you like. If you like the grape cheese and the wine,
Well, we have some really good Blue Hook, and I was like, yeah, we're not gonna break that out for these wines. That's
Although I will say the only time I liked a sweet Riesling was when I paired it with blue cheese, which I also dislike.
Yeah.
So that's a very adventuresome day for me.
Sure.
I think that's a good idea.
Something from Wisconsin.
Can you grab me some water.
I saw a recipe for
Honey on
a
blue cheese.
strudel that had, it was an apple strudel, but it was an apple and blue cheese strudel.
All right, anyone find any other pairings? I was actually kind of curious how the guacamole was going to do with it.
Very good.
Yeah, because I mean, one of the great pairings with guacamole is a good Chardonnay, because you actually have a bit of that like creaminess from both, and especially if you've got a little squeeze of lime into your guac. Yeah,
It's really good with Braunschweiger.
Bronzewire.
Liverwurst?
Yeah.
Shockingly good.
Liver pate.
Okay, I'll have to try that.
Swiss is good with it, but Swiss is better without it.
Yeah,
You said the Swiss is good with the wine, but the Swiss is better without it.
yeah. That Braunschweiger, I'm really going to be curious how it goes with the Dornfelder, because from everything that I've kind of read on Dornfelder is that it actually has a little bit of that minerality, and it almost kind of tastes a little bit like blood. So we're gonna have some sweet blood. All right, how's everyone's glasses looking?
Sadly empty.
All right. Looks like most people are tipping back, so let us move on to number 2.
I didn't say that.
Dr. L,
Dr. L.
excellent. This is the only one we got that was the same.
Yeah, I think I mean they're pretty popular. Yeah, because I mean there was a ton of Dr. L, or well, Dr. Lucin. The Dr. L is the very particular
The other bottle.
wine for this. I think
Allegedly 20.
Rob and his team have the blue slate cabinet.
Sorry, Jesus.
Even though if more than likely all of these that we're having, other than the pretty much all the ones that we're having, more than likely if they're rated, they're going to be rated cabinet.
Oh, this is something low. Is that a Malbec or a no, it's one I think. Sorry. Yeah. Sure, back in the water, please.
So this one's definitely paler than the last one. This is this is
Slightly paler.
what's that?
Ours is just slightly paler.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. I served myself first.
Slightly paler.
Like being on an airplane, there's only so much oxygen.
All right.
What's your math one first?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, as much as I'd say, like swirl and look at the legs, but it's going to be a bit of a lie just because, again, these are all going to be, they're going to have that residual sugar into them. So they're going to pull down
My excuse is that I did not have enough.
slow and thick.
I wanted to fill my glass. So somebody drink it.
It's not teasing me. It's hating her.
So, I mean, these I couldn't really like eyeball and give an estimate of what the ABV in it is, but let's see. So 8.5.
8.5. Not much.
That is
All right,
bad. It really is 8.5.
time for the aroma. So let's go ahead and give this thing a swirl and a sniff.
Oh, so floral. So floral.
The last one was 16.
This one's
13.99.
Maybe a little bit of apricot.
See, it smells sweet.
Like fresh apricot.
They sound sweet.
Now the real question is, does anyone smell any petrol?
I cannot say anything.
Any what?
Petrol, like gasoline.
No.
Hey, Richard, what year do you have? You got 2018.
2019.
Oh, we got the 2020.
Yeah. Yeah.
That little color is so
We have the 2020.
Ah,
Oh,
so real new. Okay.
you have the dumpster fire. Year of Riesling.
I mean, even with the 2019, I'm really not getting much or any of the petrol, but it's more of, if anyone's got anything different than Dr. L or something older,
I get 2 spots.
does it got it?
It is.
And you know, between the quality of this, which, like I said, is more than likely Kabinett,
Really sweet, but it's definitely
and you know that it's so new, more than likely we're not going to have it.
But Richard, I love that you say that because I have smelled that in Rieslings before, but I would never have placed it. Now that you've said it, I'll be like, okay, that's what that is.
I've had sweeter recently. Definitely had sweet Riesling. That's so sugary.
All right, let's give this thing a taste.
corn syrup.
Mhm.
It's not really like oat sugar. Like that apple juice.
Ooh.
Apple box sugar.
That
It
is
tastes
sweet.
like that.
I'll just be drinking it wet. I just do that.
Yep, that is off dry.
And then after, then you can have the so with the sausage, that's it.
Yeah.
Sausage, like the salty of the olives.
Oh, what are people getting on the palate for this?
So Damien said a lot of honey.
This is the perfect amount.
I would say got a lot of sweet at the front.
Yeah,
Maybe
it
more-
tapers off real quick.
Yeah, it does. Maybe more apricot-y, less sweet on the back, which is good. It's not cloying.
Right.
Nice word.
Yeah, but with
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, if it was more, you know, instead of off dry, if it was like off sweet, you know, then it would start to get into that cloying, you know, category. But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, like that fresh apricot. I'm trying to get if maybe there's a little, because again, this is, at least I'm pretty sure this is from Mosel.
Yeah, it is from Mosel.
So I mean, see if we can, and I hate to put it like into your head, but see if you can taste a little bit of minerality in there, a little bit of like wet stone.
If at all, it's at the end because it's just so sweet at the beginning.
Yeah, it kind of masks if there is any. Yeah, I'm mostly just getting that kind of stone fruit and
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, I think you pegged it with honey.
I'm getting a floral note at the start.
Yeah, for sure. Agreed. It's interesting.
Oh, wow.
Hmm.
This yellow makes it even sweeter.
It brings out
The olive,
really the contrast of the salt.
the saltiness of the olive.
The salt from what?
do that with one of
The asparagus. All I put was
Oh.
salt and butter, but
Okay.
the wine brings out, it didn't taste like that at all with the Gruner Veltliner, but now I'm like, wow, there's salt on the asparagus. That salt sweet.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, salt is another. It kind of hits up against acid as well. So if you have a really acidic wine, salt, like salty cheese, works really well.
Right.
Right.
It's just interesting because it's the same asparagus. So it's like, wow, I didn't notice it with the Gruner, but this I'm noticing it with.
I am getting the same effect with our salted corn chips from home.
in Germany. She's like, we're doing German wines, we're doing German dinner. You know?
So we usually just like research what are the foods of that region. So like the Chilean wine was really interesting to know. And like South African, we found this really interesting casserole with raisins and spice and nutmeg and yeah. So we've never.
Thank you.
You know, it was just like over in the Asian area of the grocery store. It was just this like microwave pocket of kaffir lime leaf rice, and this stuff is fantastic. So like so far, it's hit with both the Gruner and the Riesling.
That's the shows. That was 2 languages.
And voila.
Major French German.
There is.
You're Furman.
My outside
What?
region. Oh wow, your soup smells fantastic.
It
Just the whipped cream to go on it. It's just
So I should pause for a second, wait.
But yeah, like, you know, if I'm actually wanting to drink alcohol instead of like a Thai tea, I'll order like some curry or pad Thai, you know, Thai hot, and
Or
something like this, where it's got that little bit of sweet that will actually kind of cool down any spiciness is like the perfect reset button for a spicy food.
I know how important it is.
Get Emily to come taste this.
She's gone.
Here.
We got crab rangoon, and I was like, maybe it'll bring out the No, it doesn't bring out anything in this. It neutralizes the sauce. I was like, maybe it'll pick something up. No, nothing.
What were you trying it with?
With just like the sauce you get with crab rangoon, because it's kind of like a
sour?
yeah, but
Yeah.
it doesn't pick up any of the fruit in that. So it's really interesting.
Well, I wonder if that's just because, well, I mean, think of the lime. So I would think that.
Because it kind of is a little apricot-y. Like that's what I would say this tastes a little bit like, but nothing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You can't always predict. That's what's so interesting and fun about this is sometimes what you think would go together, you're like, nope, not at all.
Well, and just the opposite. I mean, I've had a couple of times where I'm like, that doesn't sound like it's going to go well together, but it ends up doing it.
Yeah.
Water.
This is definitely dry.
I've had sweeter Rieslings and I've had drier Rieslings.
We're on the second Riesling this year.
That's Gruyere, I think. Either Gruyere or Emmentaler.
Cool.
Oh yeah, especially for those of you that like sriracha.
Mm-hmm.
This is good with sriracha.
With an American winery, make it worth it.
You like sriracha? I don't like it at all.
I'm getting a lot more apple.
Oh, what's everyone think of the second one?
Meh.
I know Sarah's got like poop face on, so
It's just sweeter than most Rieslings I like, but
I'm not sure what that type of face describes.
You like?
say again, Elizabeth.
That's a very specific expression that I'm not sure if I know what that means.
It means she don't like this wine.
Ah, I got you. Thank you.
Now I know that look very often when someone does not like the wine that they're drinking.
Yes, it does.
So I'm hoping that well, again, Gewurztraminer meaning spice is that it's going to, even though it's still going to be a little bit sweet, that hopefully it's got some other notes to it that are really going to come forward.
Richard, that was my go-to wine in college. It was like I loved me some Gewurztraminer, which is just so interesting.
Like actual German or like American?
No, American. It was just, I loved it because it was sweet and it had a little bit of spice. And I was just like, oh, this is like so good.
Well, I mean, Gewurztraminer was like the first dessert wine that I had that kind of opened my eyes to food and wine pairing. I had actually had it with some, what was it, vanilla bean creme brulee.
Okay.
And holy crap, was that good.
Yeah, I'd love to say that's how I drank it, but it was like, I was like, no, it's just so great to drink. It's like the best wine ever. It was my move from Boone's Farm up,
Okay, well, I mean, that is quite the graduation. That's like that is kindergarten to high school in one step.
Well, Boone's Farm and Riuniti, like that, they're kind of in the same category. And then I moved.
I don't know. See, I put Riuniti Lambrusco a step above. That's junior high there.
Oh, okay. So it was Boone's, then Riuniti, and then there was Gewurztraminer.
Yeah, because Boone's is like malt. That's malt liquor with Kool-Aid added. Lambrusco is actually, it's real wine, just
Kansas.
not, what's classified as good wine.
Gotcha. So it was Raspberry Royale. That was my favorite. And then there was.
But, for people that like that was my gateway drug for a lot of people that all they drank before was like sweet white wine.
Yeah.
That this was, it's like, oh, this is like semi-sweet. Ooh, it's bubbly and it's red, so it's got a little bit of those tannins to it. And then from there, I can start introducing them to like actual grown-up wine.
Yeah, I go with any kind of sparkling red, and then I slowly get them into the more reds.
Yeah. Now,
I'll tell you what did it for me, Richard, was I moved in with friends. The deal was that I didn't have to pay them rent, but I had to cook for them. And all they drank was big bold reds. So 2 months of exposure to big bold reds. About a month and a half in, I was like, oh, these are good.
Yeah, I mean, big bold reds. I mean, you're definitely wanting, big hearty food, and that's why I love big reds myself, is because I like, hearty food, or food with a lot of flavor to it, which really only, big reds are the only thing that'll stand up to it.
Right. But you have it night after night after night. You start deciding, oh, that's not gross. I mean, it was free, so that helped, but it was just kind of like, oh. And now I find most red wine to be, I can't, at restaurants, I really don't like any of the wine they ever have. I'm just kind of like, yeah.
Unless they have a Gruner, and then I'm typically okay with it, or like a Chardonnay that was aged in steel.
Yeah. I mean, well, and there it's the problem with Chardonnay, especially if it's American, you're kind of rolling the dice unless it actually specifies, that it's unoaked. But if you know that it's from, say like a Chablis, well, of course it's going to be, that it might have like a hint of oak to it, but for the most part, those are completely unoaked. Wow, I'm getting dizzy.
I know, sorry. We're almost out of power.
I'm like, whoa, something's over there.
Yes, no, sorry. You get to see our huge backyard for Chicagoland. That's like enormous.
All right, we ready for number 3?
Yes.
The Gewurz. Weingut.
So we have something totally different. We have St. Christopher from Rheinhessen.
Okay. I'm pretty sure that this one is from, yep. So the Weingut Geil is also from Rheinhessen, and most of your Gewurz is going to come from that region.
And we don't have Kabinett. I think she said this is the latest harvest that they had.
Okay.
At Binny's.
Does it actually have any kind of classification to it, or?
Nope.
Huh. Okay.
But they read it. I mean, the woman was German. She's like, oh yeah, this is, probably. Okay.
Go to Binny's or?
Yeah, I went to Binny's.
I found Skokie here.
Yeah.
All right. So out of the 3, this definitely has the most yellow. Still kind of pale, but that's heading towards yellow.
Yeah.
I can see it in yours. See the yellow, more so than the others.
He's got a.
I'd still say very kind of straw. Like all 3 of ours have been straw.
You may have a slight
Than the others.
coloring based on the green background that
I
we
think
have.
you put it in the sun.
And again, the legs on these, they'll pull down, like one, they'll pull down fast, and then all of a sudden the rest of them will come down like super slow.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, well, there's definitely some sugar going on here.
Shocking.
All right, so let's give this thing a spin and a sniff. Oh.
I'm gonna tell you, Richard, I had a really weird smell, and I maybe you could explain. Like the pool in the summer. No, I'm serious, but not chlorine, but something about some, I don't know, it's minerally or something about the stuff. It's weird.
No, it actually made sense to me. It made sense.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
I went like this.
There's some weird twang in there.
Like when you're running into the pool, like something about like not into the pool, but like the locker room, or I don't know. That's
After you're like your cover up and stuff after the
yes, thank you. That's what I'm smell. That's a very
Well, when you actually,
Chlorine and sweat and children's pee.
that really makes us want to drink this wine.
But thank you, Elizabeth. You know exactly what I'm not talking about in the pool, but I'm talking about before you get in and when you come out.
Yes, those women's locker rooms at the pool.
Or it's like, are you talking like where it's almost got like a hint of someone's suntan lotion?
No, it's not that, and it's not sweat. It's because you're not sweating at the pool.
No, it smells like weirdly. Like for me, when you're talking pool, this smells like the chemicals I use to test like the pH for it.
Okay, maybe that's it. There's something. It really just hit me, and I was like, okay, that's
there's something odd.
I know exactly what you're talking about because that is a very distinctive smell. What
my
makes
childhood, and I was like, that's weird, but that's there.
Well, all right. Well, let's see if it's hopefully doesn't taste like it smells.
Agreed.
not smelling like you taste or taste like you smell.
Let's not laugh when we're about to drink either.
No.
Oh, it definitely doesn't taste like it smells.
Different, much sweeter.
Keep in mind, I have no clue
Might
when
be
it
one of the
apricot.
notes, but there's other stuff going on.
Oh yeah, of course.
So this has a sweet at the back, as opposed to the last one that was very sweet at the front.
Yeah, no, I'm.
Huh.
All right. So what are people getting on this? Because I have set in my brain exactly what this tastes like to me.
He said apple cider. He has like an apple cider-ish.
Okay.
Not green apple, not red apple, but the apple cider.
Maybe like one of those yellow apples.
Also,
Yeah, like a golden delicious.
Yeah, exactly.
Like to me, all I taste is cantaloupe and honey.
Hi.
Or it's not the it's not the that smooth melon of like a honeydew, but yeah, a little bit more of a bite that comes from cantaloupe.
But it's not as spicy as a lot of American Gewurztraminers that I've had.
Yeah.
Really?
No.
Y'all have the 2020?
Do I have?
2019.
Well, we have a totally different one than you guys all have. But it just doesn't have a lot of spice to it, because I know I have a lot of the Gewurztraminers that I've had have a lot of, I mean, I don't know if it's real spice or they infuse or
Well, a
natural
lot of that
flavor.
might just come from, especially if you're thinking American Gewurz, where it's done in a much warmer, flatter climate.
Yeah.
And so, I think that's where I had kind of said, much like the Rieslings, they start to take on a bit of that pepper, pepper and peach flavor to them comparatively to, much more of a citrus and apple note.
And this is not as sweet as what I was drinking for sure.
Richard, do you have 2020?
No, 2019.
Yeah, this isn't sweet at all. Which is
Well, that's some side eye happening there.
I want to say it's like grapefruit. Like it's not especially citrusy, but it's got kind of an aromatic bitter flavor.
Yeah, I was about to say, usually when people say grapefruit, they mean that there's got like a bitter note to it.
I will say it is not as sweet as I thought it would be,
Yeah.
but it is typically more sweet than I like my wine.
Now, is that the Weingut or is it something else?
Eh?
Like for which one is yours? Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So it is exactly mine, just a year younger.
And ours is not Kabinett, so it's probably why it's not quite as sweet.
Well, I mean, it's typical. Oh, I mean, pretty much the grapes have to be, of at least Kabinett level.
Okay.
So even if it doesn't say Kabinett, well, I guess if it doesn't say Kabinett, I mean, it could be Landswein, but
This one is 12%, so I guess it shouldn't expect it.
No. It's
It is really good with the Thai food.
typically like my wines for some reason. And I would not expect it to be sweet, like you were saying.
How do you like yours?
It's good.
It is, tastes good with the salt.
Different thing to it.
Good.
We need more chips.
What are you guys eating with it in DC?
Me?
Yeah.
Whole Foods chips with guac and pico de gallo.
Excellent.
And we also had some coconut chicken tenders from Whole Foods.
Cool.
now
A little bit healthier than regular chicken tenders.
I did do one thing that was closer to German, which was an apple crumb cake that I got from IKEA. So,
At least I had remembered about this tasting this morning when I woke up, or at least last night. I would have set my alarm and gone to the farmer's market to get apple strudel.
mhm.
Ah,
Guess I could go tomorrow.
You also have plenty of wine for tomorrow.
oh, yeah.
Ooh, oh, that
I'll give myself-
okay. That's what I was hoping for. Was the spice that was in the apple for that crumb cake really started to pop in this wine.
Oh, I should have-
Interesting.
Which price is that?
Which spice is that?
Say that again.
Which spice?
Oh, it's actually the cinnamon that is really kind of coming out.
Maybe I'll just be lazy and make blueberry cinnamon coffee cake with a cinnamon crumb topping tomorrow.
So if you go blueberry, I'm probably going to say it's going to go better with the Dornfelder.
Yep.
I've never had the Dornfelder of this type, but I've had it at OTM, which is a German winery near us,
Okay.
and I like it there. So I'm hopeful I like this one.
Yeah, I mean, when I was because I mean, for the most part, I only knew of Riesling and Gewurztraminer from Germany, but then I started to do a little bit more research. And
Do you know about Gruner?
what's that?
Gruner.
Well, I knew about Gruner, but I'm saying for just Germany, those being the two wines that I knew of. I didn't know about Spotburgunder or Dornfelder.
I get a little bit spoiled by OTM around here.
And that was the thing, was that I don't know if you've ever done any research on any kind of wines, but here, let me show you this real quick. So that is the weird genetic tree that the Germans went through in order to come up with Dornfelder.
Huh.
They like matched these two, matched these other two, made some other mutants, and then took those two mutants and made Dornfelder.
I'm really surprised that it ended up with only 10 letters in it.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Considering that's like the German way, is just to tack on more words and make it one big long word.
Mhm.
I mean, during my Somm training, it took me a good day to finally be able to say Trockenbier and Nauselace like off the cuff.
So you are a Somm. I never asked you. I was assuming you were, but
I thought you were in training.
Nope.
My bad.
No, I mean there's different levels, and I'm actually, you know, now that things are starting to open back up, I do plan on going, you know, to a winery or even a wine restaurant and just playing Somm there for a little while in order to get enough of the real world skill for being able to do it, you know, for taking the next level test.
so you've passed, I don't even know how many levels there are, but
There's 4.
okay. And you passed 1, 2,
Just one.
Wow.
Yeah, but
any level is like,
I
no,
think level
well, there's, I mean,
in the world.
say it again, Ryan.
I think level 4 is only about 20 people in the world.
There's like 200
Yeah. Off by
that are
20, 200, whatever, factor of 10.
that are master songs. And you know, well, there was supposed to be 220 or 230, but all the people that passed in you know, one of the most recent tests, all had theirs, you know, pretty much canceled out because there was, you know, rumor of some cheating going on.
Ew.
But will I ever get to that level? No. Yeah, because the thing about like actual Somm certification is that it's for people that are going to be in the service industry.
Yeah.
And I mean, I might do it at some point, especially if I ever retire, but I love IT too much to really make that a career. Yeah. I might actually at some point, if I really don't want to keep going on the service line, is jump over to the W set, which is a whole other wine accreditation, but it's for it's essentially like the academic or intellectual side, where it's all the theory and, you know, being able to you still do all the tasting and the knowledge, but that's all they test you on, instead of like with like the level 2, you take an exam, and then after that there's a couple of master somms that sit down at a table, and you're essentially coming up to them like your customer, like their customers at your restaurant, and you're interacting with them, asking them like what their price point is, what kind of foods they like, you know, what kind of flavors they like, and then, you know, and then from there, you know, suggesting something, and then coming out and presenting it where, you know, you're like, oh, and on top of that, whenever you pour, you always have to make sure that like the label is out towards the customer, so that as they see it as you're pouring, you know, things like that. So, you know,
Which is fine, but it's just not what you're planning on using it for.
yeah. But
So
you know,
one of my friends works for the CDC.
Okay.
She has a side hustle where when she retires, it will become her main business, and she's just doing corporate wine tastings as group activities.
Oh.
So think about that for your guys' area.
Yeah, and I thought about, you know, I mean, you know, if I ever take this kind of thing commercial, where it's, you know, not only, I mean, pretty much like for those that have been with me for the last year and a half of doing these, if people, I mean, most of them aren't taking notes, so they don't really, I'm hoping that most of it's kind of staying in their brain, that all the information that you know I've been giving pretty much is preparing you for the introductory psalm exam.
Oh,
Yeah.
So you should have taken notes.
memory.
Rob, have you been taking notes? Rob, have you been he's not even listening.
On mute. So
I mean, I have most of the videos up on YouTube. So, I mean, if you ever need to go back through for lectures or anything, yeah, you can always go play through those and
Steve, is the last one up yet?
Katrina, what
It's there. It's there.
the last one was the last
Asking if Rob, you were taking notes so you can pass your psalm exam. You've been to all these.
I actually have been taking notes, and I have actually considered taking a psalm class. I don't know about the exam, but the class is interesting to me.
Well, I mean,
Give you a hard time.
the psalm exam, or yeah,
That's
the
awesome.
exam, it's 3 days, and the first 2 days is all lecture, and then the third day is essentially a test on the lecture, as long as you got the important pieces.
That's awesome that you're taking notes. I was just totally giving you a hard time.
Rachel, who's off
I'm
camera,
on
gave
your
us
level.
all
I take no notes. This guy,
Not the Robs here.
Well, I did when we were in Virginia with Richard. He was writing everything down, and I was like, "Wow, I wish I had been doing that the whole time." And while we were on the trip,
like it's too late.
went to Amazon and ordered books for everybody.
Yeah, whenever I go out to like a set of wineries, I usually have my wine tasting journal with me, and so I'm always writing down like what kind of flavors I'm getting from it. Pretty much just going through the same kind of stuff that we're doing on each of these wines.
Yeah.
I'm doing at a bit of a faster pace.
Yeah, I do that with basically every bottle I got my hands on because it's when are you ever
And that's the thing. If there's anything that you guys all learn from this, it's the deductive wine tasting process.
Oh, and
Get rid of the ones you don't like, so you can keep the ones you do.
speaking of hustles, I have a coworker who we can all telework, and he just moved to Charlottesville to like prepare more seriously for his next job.
Okay.
You driving a car very fast?
Does like popcorn.
Too soon.
Yeah.
Wants to do corporate tastings and stuff.
Okay.
My sister lives there, so I've done wine tasting there for a number of years because I have to go there all the time. So
It smells like butter.
Oh, looks like at least they're a little bit ahead of us. So let's go ahead and explore the Dornfelder.
So what if that
Good.
I got it.
It's like popcorn.
Raisin and popcorn. Or raisinette.
Oh, it's actually darker than I was expecting.
this is just a random one that we bought at the little bar, at the little liquor store.
Corners.
You have to open it. Oh, I
Now,
don't have
now
any.
compared to the Spotburgunder,
Oh, I do have the Norley.
this is supposed to be, like much darker. Like they bred this thing to
Pretty much.
kind of have a deep red, considering that the Pinot Noir, it growing in that kind of colder climate, it's going to come out really light and kind of thin, and so they wanted something that could survive that sort of climate, but deliver a bigger red experience. And so, like, I don't know, as I'm looking at this is
My collarbone in the camera.
yeah, I mean, this is a dark red. Like if I didn't know what this was, I'd be like, is this like Merlot?
Yeah, or a Burgundy, a French Burgundy. It kind of looks a little bit like that. Or maybe an Italian like Valpolicella. I mean, those are the kinds of.
Yeah. All right. And then again, the swirl on this is weird. Actually, those are kind of uniformly thick and slow. So I would guess this is going to have quite a bit more both sugar and alcohol to it. Let's see. Well, at least mine only says 19 or
Ours-
9.5.
Or the mine is. What, how? I can't get mine to run. Mine stick.
know. Damien can't get legs, except mine.
Well, all right. Well, let's go ahead and give this thing a swirl and a sniff.
Prunes.
Did you hear him? Prunes.
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 Mm.
I kind of am smelling like Swedish glögg.
Whoa.
Glug. What's that?
It's a Swedish wine you drink at Christmas time that has lots of spices and
So it's like Glühwein.
yeah, like blue wine. Exactly.
So you add almonds and raisins and lots of spices, and then when you're done, you just eat the raisins, and they're all drunk.
What were you saying, Sarah?
Spice to it, then maybe. I'm not quite getting that same blue vine.
Nah.
Smells like butter.
It's more
Butter.
jam to me.
AMC chemical popcorn butter is what it smells like.
See,
Not Rico popcorn butter, but AMC popcorn butter.
Yeah, not the cheap theaters, the really good popcorn.
Yeah.
Wait. You said AMC and then you said good popcorn. I'm confused.
Yes.
Good popcorn butter, not the cheap chemical popcorn butter, the good one.
I smell like sweet cherries and coffee.
Yeah, we got a different bottle.
At least
Wait, same bottle actually. Plum and vanilla.
Well, you know.
Everybody's got the same one, huh?
Oh, right.
Well, we
vanilla.
have the same.
You get Dornfelder. I think
Yeah,
that's
but
right.
I don't think we have the same.
The Dr. Heidemanns?
Yeah, we don't have Dr. Heidemanns.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what we have.
Dornfelder is the style. Okay.
Yeah, we don't have the same. Hold on, hold yourself.
Can I
Dornfelder, but a different.
see the bottle?
Okay.
It's an Austin, Texas
Thank
one.
you.
No,
Yeah, that's Dr.
No,
Heidemann.
you-
there.
bought it at a liquor store in Texas because it's
In
not available
Austin.
in Kansas.
Oh,
Missouri, yeah.
And it's the 2019.
how was the rum? Was it
Looking on the coffee, but that's just like the.
brown? It's pretty sexy.
Thank you.
I can't believe you
Oh, so you're
actually
looking
put
at
it
my
on a
phone.
ballot.
Yeah, like to me,
Yeah,
all,
I'll keep it up.
it smells like a cherry cordial.
Hands up table.
Eyes are up here.
Yeah.
Did you, yeah,
Tongue is,
my
no, never mind.
value.
Speaking of the boobs out,
Exactly.
actress.
So.
Yeah, it was a hard.
Did you-
one.
All right. Well, let's get our last taste of the night out. So
I mean,
And in Austin,
Austin,
yeah.
yeah, it was-
Our fitness level
In
was
downtown.
was not.
It was right to down. It's level around Congress all the way.
what's that again?
Someone was talking about fitness.
Turn around.
They ran down Enfield. They were like 2 doors away from my best friend's childhood home.
Like I took a spin class yesterday.
You go, girl.
Walked 5 miles today.
Huh.
Wow.
So it's not as sweet as I thought it would be, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a touch sweet.
Alcohol.
Because I was thinking it might be as sweet as like a late harvest. I have a late harvest some red wine sitting in my basement that I'm still like, I don't know.
Oh, so it's definitely not that irony blood that I was expecting. This 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 is just all red fruit. I mean, all I'm doing is like raspberry and cherry.
It's not raspberry.
Well, it's not raspberry and Edie, I can tell you that.
I would like it with raspberries. I think they would complement each other.
Oh, it's like the fake raspberries that are in like raspberry you'll play.
Yes. It's just the tang. It's not all the different aromatic.
Yeah.
Raspberry and raspberry you'll play.
Yeah.
Wait, okay.
Well, in any kind of yogurt, yeah.
I think what else I'm tasting.
All right. I'm gonna try with some chocolate with lingonberries.
Ooh. Oh, you did go to IKEA. I'm like, what's with all the Swedish? I'm like, yeah. We both have, his last name is Christensen, so you don't get more Swedish than that.
Who married a Gustafson?
I get a little strawberry, actually.
Yeah. I mean, it's all in that kind of realm of red fruit.
Yeah.
The red berries.
Pretty good with licorice.
You think everything is good with licorice?
I really like licorice.
Hey, as long as you know what you like, right?
So much easier to beat. A pleasure.
I'm gonna try with curry. We'll see. We got an amazing Black Forest that will probably be great with this.
Ooh, yeah, Black Forest cake.
When you recommend it, we went on a hunt, so we have we've got a big Black Forest cake that we will crack into later when we're done eating.
Okay.
I don't think this is bad.
Stops being.
What I like is this is really fruity, but not jammy.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that pectin thick.
No.
You have to decant something that has a screw off top.
Ooh, that looks good.
Well, that'll keep you up all night.
What world do you live in? I have 4 espressos in the morning.
Not one of them had a cork.
And why were you avoiding it?
Because that way I can enjoy.
Does it? Okay. It really does.
I recognize that 4 espressos is not a normal thing and should not be the norm.
Every other minute, she has a different opinion on whether caffeine keeps her awake.
No.
See, I'm an accelerant junkie. Like I went past coffee, and now I just have powdered caffeine. I just have a tub of anhydrous caffeine powder.
That would be really good in smoothies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He's like, yes, it is. Yes.
Like Monsters and Red Bull are like,
Ew.
those I can't even do anymore. It's all like pre-workout drinks where it's like 300 milligrams or higher.
Yeah. No, at my college, they passed out Red Bull for free at the volleyball courts. So just kind of got used to thinking of it as free. Pay for it? No, you get free.
Just listen to you all the
With
time.
you, I'm amplifying your message.
Yeah, this does not go with pad thai.
No.
Not at all.
I could go with anything.
It's not bad with red curry.
Like a life for popcorn.
Yeah,
Don't
you
red
definitely need like a red fruit,
Chocolate.
like sidekick with this.
It helps.
I know, that's dope. And you know what?
I think the cream kind of takes it over. It's got a little coconut cream, and that meshes it.
Yeah, dark chocolate
Get it.
helps.
And the chocolate is the after flavor too.
Mhm.
With the
So
red.
it's really nice.
Let me try the chocolate.
It does.
Yeah, it's just that oily.
This works.
It does have a little
Oh, the espresso bean chocolate.
Oh yeah, I bet it tastes amazing.
wrapped up.
Yeah.
Wrapped up.
Does-
No, I didn't.
Does
Maybe
the
I like-
bitter really come out?
I think the dark peanut.
Does the what come out?
I was thinking that the bitter would actually come out, like the bitter of the chocolate, or like the chocolate and the espresso bean is going to kind of present the bitterness in the wine.
I'm a big peanut fan.
Kind of.
I don't taste much
Plus the chocolate benefits elephants.
chocolate. I would like
First sport, hazelnut.
Riddle,
So, just to kind of close out at least the recording, from now on, I'm just because every 2 weeks is really starting to bite into my personal life for being able to get it done on the weekends.
I can understand that.
So I'm going to push it out to like 3 weeks at a minimum.
Oh yeah.
That said, we're going to make a trip back to France.
Woo!
Sort of. So as close as I can, we're going to try to recreate the Judgment of Paris. So it's going to be Cabernet and Chardonnay from Old World and New World. So it's going to be, a Burgundian white, which is your Chardonnays, and then Bordeaux red blend left bank from like the Medoc region, and then from Napa.
Excellent. That'll be super fun. And yeah, no, Richard, you need to have a social life.
Especially now that the pandemic is
Social life, though, right?